Dear learners, welcome to this session on character development in script writing. In our previous videos, we explored the core tools of script writing, including story structure, conflict, and dialogue. We also examined different types of scripts, from feature films to television, web series, and even interactive media. Now, we shall turn our attention to characters, the heart of any screenplay. Why? Because no matter how intriguing your plot is, it is the characters who make the story meaningful and captivating. While discussing the various aspects with reference to developing well-rounded and believable characters, we shall focus on these 5 objectives. To gain an understanding on the importance of character development in script writing, to provide an outline of the key elements in developing characters, to differentiate between the various types of characters, to explore the tips to create credible characters, to highlight common mistakes to avoid in character development. So, what is character development and its importance in script writing? When we talk about character development, 2 things must be emphasized. Firstly, the personality of the character, and secondly, a strong point of view. Director and screenwriter Judd Apatow holds the view that though plot and setting are pivotal, it is character development which at times makes the process of script writing more valuable. Character development refers to the process of creating well-rounded and multidimensional characters who evolved throughout a story. It involves shaping a character's personality, desires, and motivations in a way that makes them feel real to the audience. A well-developed character is more than just a participant. That character plays an active role in driving the narrative forward. The background, experiences, and personal struggles of the characters influence their decisions, making their actions authentic and meaningful. We must note that in script writing, character development extends beyond basic physical descriptions or surface level traits. A character's internal world that may often encompass aspects like ambitions, fears, and moral beliefs is important to depict because it plays a role in shaping his or her journey. Strong characters undergo transformations, responding to challenges that test their resolve and reveal new aspects of their personality. This transformation is often referred to as a character arc, which highlights their growth or downfall over the course of the story. Well-crafted characters undoubtedly influence and enhance storytelling by making the audience emotionally invested in their fate. At its core, character development is about understanding what characters want and how far they are willing to go to achieve it. Factors like desires, obstacles, and choices make the storytelling process more exciting. As scriptwriters, we must provide our characters space to grow, adapt, and reveal unexpected dimensions of themselves, making them memorable and relatable to the audience. In fact, David Howard mentioned in his book, The Tools of Screenwriting, that the protagonist is the anchor of the narrative and pointed out the importance of establishing a character's goal, conflict, and transformation. As far as goal is concerned, it may either be external or It may be internal. Now let us briefly explore why character development is important in script writing. Character development plays a crucial role in storytelling as it shapes the audience's emotional connection to the narrative. A well-crafted character transforms a good script into an unforgettable one. So here are key reasons why character development is essential in script writing. Firstly, it creates relatable and believable characters. Audiences connect with characters who feel real and multidimensional. A well-developed character has flaws, strengths, and motivations that make them relatable to the audience. Secondly, it drives the story forward. As mentioned, the choices characters make and their actions play a crucial role in the progress of the plot. Without well-defined characters, a story may feel directionless or unconvincing because it is their desires, conflicts, and reactions that shapes the narrative greatly. Thirdly, it adds depth and complexity to the plot because a well-developed character triggers the introduction of subplots, conflicts, thereby adding emotional layers to the main storyline. Relationships and personal struggles of the characters add richness and nuance to the script. Fourthly, it engages emotional engagement. The audience experiences and connects the ups and downs faced by the characters, which creates a fulfilling experience. Characters with compelling arcs leave a lasting impact, leading to deeper viewer investment. Fifthly, it establishes a strong narrative purpose. Every character should serve a purpose in the script, whether it is to challenge the protagonist, provide comic relief, drive the central conflict, or any other. Clarity in a character's purpose makes the story meaningful. Sixthly, it strengthens dialogue and character interactions. A well-developed character has a distinct voice, making dialogue more dynamic and engaging. Conversations between characters feel more real and natural when their personalities and perspectives are well defined. Strong character development leads to meaningful interactions in the story. Seventhly, it supports world building. That is, characters bring a fictional world to life by interacting with their environment in realistic ways. Whether in a fantasy realm, historical setting, or modern day drama, character across should reflect the worldview they inhabit. Thus, character development is at the core of great script writing. It ensures that characters are engaging, relatable, believable, and essential to the story. So, when characters have clear goals or motivations and arcs, they transform a script into a powerful and emotionally compelling narrative. So, the next segment of our discussion is key elements in developing characters. While developing characters, there are certain factors that script writers must consider. Physical and biological attributes. That is, features such as age, appearance, health, and sexuality must be clearly mentioned in the script. This will help in casting as well as overall impact of the storyline. The physical and biological attributes plays a great role in the experiences and relationships of the characters within the story. Psychological traits. Next point that we must focus on is outlining the psychological makeup of the character. So aspects like intelligence, temperament, mannerisms, etc. are essential for a script to reveal the deeper unconscious of a character. If a character behaves this way or the other way, the audience will be able to relate only if the scriptwriter clearly describes such traits. Interpersonal and cultural background. Characters do not exist in a vacuum. Therefore, the societal details like family, education, beliefs, lifestyle, interpersonal relationships, etc., must be mentioned to make the story contextual. Personal history. It equals to the backstory, which is relevant to establish the plot. Hence, the scriptwriter must take pain to outline significant life events that shape the characters, motivations, and actions. Let us briefly look at the various methods by which writers can portray characters. These include autobiographical method. In this method, writers extensively draw from their life experiences. We often meet various categories of personalities in our real life. Some writers are apt to transform such real life characters into fictional ones. Biographical method. We have come across many stories on screen which are inspired by real life characters who are renowned for varied reasons. Writers often draw inspiration from such characters. Imaginative method. This method is purely imaginative, in which the writers create fictional characters, neither inspired by real life nor drawn from personal experiences. It involves an objective viewpoint wherein writers mostly imagine characters through their passions, features, narrative conflict, and so on. Combination method. As the name suggests, this method combines elements from all the three methods we have discussed. In all of the methods, the primary goal of the writer is to bring the character to life. Now, let us come to the segment where we will discuss the types of characters. In script writing, characters can be categorized based on their roles, functions, and narrative significance. Here are the key types. Protagonist, that is the main character. The central character whose actions, flaws, passion, and emotions drive the story forward. When we talk about protagonist, we should remember that the protagonist faces obstacles and undergoes significant change to achieve his or her goal. If we think of an example of a protagonist, we can mention Harry Potter because we all are familiar with it. The most important quality a protagonist must inhabit is relatability. The audience must find scope to empathize with the goals and vision of the protagonist. Number 2, antagonist. Opposes the protagonist, creating conflict and drama. However, the antagonist may not be necessarily a human being or a person. It can be a force, maybe supernatural force or natural force, or it can also be an internal struggle. So when we talk about examples of antagonists, again let us take the example of Harry Potter, where Lord Voldemort is the opposing force that creates tension and conflict in the plot. Supporting characters help develop the protagonist's arc. It may include mentors, sidekicks, or love interests. Example, Dr. Watson in Sherlock Holmes. So what are foil characters? It contrasts with the protagonist to highlight traits. A foil character can be a friend, a rival, or even antagonist. For example, in Harry Potter again, we can cite the example of Draco Malfoy. So what are stock characters? Those are stereotypical figures serving a narrative function. For example, the wise mentor or the comic relief. Next is static versus dynamic characters. Static characters remains unchanged, as we can see in case of Sherlock Holmes, but dynamic characters grow, experiences significant change. For example, in A Christmas Carol, we can see Ebenezer Scrooge, who grows along with the narrative. We can see the growth. And next is round versus flat characters. So round characters are complex and multidimensional, whereas flat characters have minimal depth and are often symbolic. So each character type plays a crucial role in shaping the script's narrative, ensuring depth and engagement. Let us now look at a glance the tips to create credible characters. So firstly, creating three-dimensional characters. One-dimensional characters feel lifeless. For example, in the book The Tools of Scriptwriting, Howard suggests considering three key dimensions to make characters feel real. To create such characters, writers must note the points like physiological traits, which may include age, appearance, health, and physical abilities, sociological background that includes family, upbringing, economic status, education, and relationships, psychological makeup that is fears, dreams, strengths, weakness, and inner conflicts. And by integrating all these layers, characters become unique individuals rather than stereotypes. Second is conflict and stakes in character development. Conflict fuels drama and stakes keeps audience engaged. Again, we can refer to Howard, who highlights different types of conflict, like internal conflict, as we have already noted. It's the struggles within the character, such as self-doubt or trauma. Interpersonal conflict, that is tension between characters, such as rivalry or romantic discord. It can be external conflict, like obstacles from the environment or societal norms or natural disasters. So the higher the stakes, the more compelling the character's journey is. Thirdly, character arcs, that is evolution and change. A well-developed character undergoes a transformation over the course of the story. Common character arcs include the hero's journey. A character starts from an ordinary world, faces challenges, learns lessons, and emerges transformed. And tragic arc, that is the flaws of the character that leads to downfall, and it is often seen in case of classical tragedies. Flat arc is the character remains steadfast in their beliefs while influencing the world around them. That is James Bond, we can cite it as an example. Character evolution should feel organic and it should be driven by events in the story. Fourthly, dialogue is a tool for characterization. In his book, Howard stresses that dialogue should reveal personality, motivations, and relationships rather than simply deliver information. So, the points that matter are unique voice, that is, each character should have a distinct way of speaking, reflecting their background and personality. Second is subtext, what a character does not say. Sometimes it becomes as important as what they say. So it is important to include subtext in a story. We can again refer to conflict through dialogue because conversations should create tension and not just exposition. So dialogue is a tool for characterization. It is very important for all the script writers to understand this point. Fifthly, action speaks louder than words. It's very common because a character's true nature is revealed through their actions. Instead of telling the audience a character is brave, show them acting courageously in a critical moment. Howard advocates for show, don't tell as a key storytelling principle. Sixthly, secondary characters and their impact. So, we were previously talking about the protagonist and antagonist, but how do secondary characters impact the storyline? We should also take note of that, because supporting characters should serve a purpose in the protagonist's journey. They can act as foils, highlighting the protagonist's traits. They can provide mentorship or guidance. They can create obstacles or opposition. So each supporting character should have their own goals and conflicts to make them feel real and also relevant. Next point is consistency and complexity. A character should be consistent, yet capable of surprising the audience. Howard warns against making characters too predictable. Complexity comes from contradictions, and characters should have strengths and weaknesses, virtues, and also flaws. Next, backstory and motivation. A character's past influences their present choices. Howard suggests developing a backstory, even if it is not explicitly stated in the script, to ensure characters act authentically. Understanding a character's past can clarify their fears, desires, and behaviors in the story. Now, let us look at the mistakes to be avoided and strategies to improve our characters while writing a script.
Toy Story 2 was meant to go direct to video, but then it made $1 gazillion and became one of the few sequels in cinema history that are actually better than the original.
The greatest sequel ever.
It is so good that 4 minutes from the film is enough to teach you pretty much anything you need to know about screenwriting, starting with character. I'll use these 4 minutes to warn you about 5 character killers, advocate the superpower that beats likability, and prove that character equals plot. Until you understand this, you should not be allowed to touch Final Draft. In the mere 4 minutes of this clip, we meet Woody, Wheezy, Mom, Buzz, the Sergeant, the Potato Heads, Rex, Buster, Slinky, Ham, Bo Peep, Little Girl, Little Girl's Mom, and the Collector. That includes 4 new characters, 6 characters that impact on the plot, and no less than 14 speaking parts. Is that too many? Many novices struggle with more than 5 characters, but nobody has ever complained about Toy Story 2. When it feels like there are too many characters, it's often because they're too similar. When we can't tell your characters apart, you have a problem. Here's one way of solving this. In The Art of Dramatic Writing, Lajos Egri introduces the bone structure. It describes the character in 3 ways: physiognomy, sociology, and psychology. Woody is a tall, fabric cowboy ragdoll. He's everybody's best friend and leader of the toys. He's brave, smart, determined, and passionate. Buzz is a big, shiny plastic Space Ranger toy. Woody's best friend and former rival. He's firm, clear, and rule-driven. Sometimes, even with all 3 checked off, we still can't tell characters apart. Why? The description is too vague. Some of the most important qualities in effective writing are specificity and precision. A tall, brave cowboy describes Woody both in terms of physiognomy, sociology, and psychology, yet it doesn't uniquely identify him because, these guys. Now, if we were to describe him as brave, smart, and kind, that would be a more precise psychology. Mission accomplished? Not quite. It feels a little, one-sided, as if he's immutably positive. It's too shallow. Woody has many faces. We see him confused, annoyed, curious, concerned, indignant, responsible, smart, brave, steadfast, and stunned. Even if some of these are moods rather than traits, Woody is still clearly a rounded, dimensional character. Now, if there's one thing that Woody cannot be blamed of, it's that he's too passive. He's an active character.
Yard sale!
He launches the emergency roll call, hides Wheezy from Mother, calls Buster, and starts the rescue. He's always on the move. In Toy Story 2, the characters are not too many, too similar, too vague, too shallow, or too passive. Instead, they're distinct, they're different, specific, rounded, and active. This last essential quality brings us to the one superpower that makes a character unforgettable. Some say character is everything. No, it's not. Character plus goal gets you closer. Aaron Sorkin says drama is intention plus obstacle. But even this will run out of steam pretty fast. What is missing is one critical character trait to make your characters compelling. Can you guess? I'll give you 2 seconds. Resolve, or strong determination. Saving Wheezy is not an easy undertaking, and along the way, Woody thinks, struggles, and fails. But he never gives up. And even if you have a character who's not 100% likable, resolve is your out-of-jail-free card. But how do you make this happen as a writer? How do you show this? This is the capstone of today's video, in which, remember, I would prove character equals plot. We know what we want. A bunch of characters that are not too similar, too vague, too shallow, or too passive. And at least one main character with resolve. This, like any character trait, you introduce by contrast. We contrast the traits of one character against those of another by showing the difference in their behavior or reaction to a similar stimulus or event.
Starting to doubt your resolve.
In our Toy Story clip, there is a great example right at the beginning. The stimulus is the yard sale. The reactions from Woody and Wheezy are clearly contrasted. Wheezy's reaction is passive and cynical. Woody's reaction is active and positive. Thanks to the shared event of the yard sale, we can compare their responses and understand their character. It's your job as a writer to create these trigger events to demonstrate your character's traits. And this we call plot. Thanks to only 4 minutes of great storytelling, I helped you avoid 5 major character killers. I introduced you to the superpower that makes any character compelling, and I showed you how there's no character without plot.
So to conclude, character development is the foundation of strong storytelling. By creating well-rounded, motivated, and interesting characters with distinct arcs, conflicts, and voices, screenwriters can create wonderful narratives that strike a chord with the audiences. It is obvious that characters should drive the plot and not the other way around. By focusing on depth, transformation, and authenticity, scriptwriters can develop unforgettable characters that bring stories to life. With this, we have come to the end of this session. Thank you.